The question is, if you want to get your testosterone to turn back on naturally, how long will it take? What's the right protocol? I'm going to tell you. Stay tuned. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
All right, television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. We are going to skip the pleasantries, the formalities. We are going to go right into the questions. Why? Because it is Olympia week, or the week before the Olympia, where we are recording, editing. And in about 25 minutes, Dave is going to be interviewing, let's just say, bodybuilding royalty. We're not going to say the name. We're not going to say anything until the interview is recorded and in the can, but we promise it's going to be absolutely special. And once this is done, we are going to have a lot of golden content to put out. So stay tuned. Keep it locked to RX Muscle, the YouTube channel, and our Instagram. We're going to go right into the questions. First two questions, of course, from this show, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Female bodybuilding question. I normally use 100 mg primobolan injectable per week, but I want to try primobolan oral tabs. What is the recommended dosage for oral primobolan per day? They are dosed 25 mg per tab. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't seen oral primobolan. They used to be called primobolan S tabs, but they're actually primobolan acetate tabs. But that was the brand name. I think they were made in Germany. And I used to get these bottles back in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were really nice. They were like these big, they look like little wafers almost. And they didn't cause any side effects in women because primobolan acetate really only stays in the system for a couple hours. They would get the benefits of it, but they wouldn't get the side effects. And I saw women would take in 50 milligrams a day of that stuff, 25 twice a day. Men would take 4 a day, and probably in today's world, would probably be a lot more than that, but they were expensive. They were not cheap. They were name brand sharing, primobolan S tabs. And if they're available and they're real, and once again, I would test them with the Roy test kits we sell at DavePalumbo.com, because there is a lot of fake primobolan, but if you can get real ones, they're probably the best thing for women to take, because of the fact that they don't last. Anything acetate doesn't last very long in the body, but there's very minimal toxicity to them too, which is really good. Obviously, primobolan enanthate injections seem like a good drug for women to take, assuming you have the real stuff, of course, because there is most primobolan injectable out there is unfortunately testosterone propionate. So you got to be very careful. Once again, test with the Roy test kits that I sell at my website. But one of the things that you want to remember about primobolan enanthate, the injectable form of it, is that because it is a long-acting ester, it's always in your system. So even if you're not taking a high dose, some women really can get away with 25 milligrams twice a week. That's probably a safer dose. They still might get side effects because of the fact that it's in the system all the time. So people who are prone will get them. People who won't. 100 milligrams of primobolan is a little high, a week. I don't know if I would be giving figure or bikini competitor that, but I know some of the bodybuilder women will take, 100 milligrams a week, 50 milligrams twice a week. And that's a nice dose. Once again, if you're not prone, very sensitive to side effects, that should be fine because the drug itself is not really very virilizing. The problem is that when you are sensitive and then it accumulates, you can't get it out of your system fast enough. And a lot of times, sometimes those side effects will become permanent. So you got to be very careful.
Before we go to the second question from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, reminder right now, and you could click is the link, the first link that we're showing in the article description below, the RXMuscle Olympia prediction contest. If you haven't already gotten your predictions, we're finalizing an end date, but most likely what we're going to do is that once prejudging on Friday during the day begins, that's when we're cutting the competition. Now, granted, exception that, all right, there's a last-second withdrawal from the men's open class or classic physique, what have you, but for the most part, this contest will end next Friday once prejudging begins. Cash prizes, free.
Why don't we just cut it off at Thursday night, 12:59? Because you know what, or 11:59 rather than PM. Because you know what happens? Then people are gonna if you can't get your predictions in before next Friday.
No. Well, Dave, here's the qualifier today. Today. People are gonna be glued to Instagram during those last few days, last few hours, and let's just say Wesley Vissers just drops this absolute, Mona Lisa of an update. And all of a sudden now you're swayed. You're thinking to yourself, maybe you were on the fence. Maybe you thought, C-bomb, but
don't change your predictions. That's what I always tell people.
So, but anyway, point being, if you haven't already entered, the link is below. You could also go on our Instagram. It's the link in the bio.
We're giving away good prizes too, Sid. I mean, there's $1,000 to the winner. You're going to get
prize. There's a cash prize. Yeah. So the free chicken from the Chicken Pound. So we thank Carlo Filipponi and the Chicken Pound for stepping up. You're going to get cash prize, free chicken, and free supplements from Species Nutrition.
It's a nice prize package for the top three. So you guys get your predictions, and it doesn't cost anything to enter. All you got to do is
we're going to be announcing the final cash. We're going to the final cash prize chicken allotment and as well as supplement allotment over the next couple of days. But the point is, you're going to want to get in on. It's the first of its kind that this industry is really having like a formal prediction contest. So again, they're going to be lavish prizes. You're going to have bragging rights. So again, if you haven't already done so, enter link below right here.
I'll tell you what, Sid will announce your name on the show too. We'll have him give a big,
well, you're gonna have even better. You're gonna have your name announced right on the finals wrap up. And historically, year by year, anything Olympia night is gonna get the most views, pretty much of anything that we do during the course of the year. So there you go. You'll have your name mentioned on likely what will be the most highly viewed video of the year. Let's go to the Instagram questions again. official_RXMuscle. And if you're not already following us there, good reason to do so because I myself will be flying out to Vegas on Tuesday for the Olympia. I think Dave's going to be arriving Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So the whole time that we're there, look, we're going to be documenting everything, obviously, here on this YouTube channel, but then on Instagram as well. Anyone that we're going to be bumping into, show coverage, stuff at the expo around town in Vegas. I'm sure we're going to be making our rounds of some of the gyms before Thursday. So the Dragon's Lair for one, definitely. What's the other one? The Hide and
Powerhouse.
Yes, exactly. Powerhouse, right. And I think there's a Fit Club as well. So we'll be doing our rounds. But the point is, whoever we bump into, I'm sure we're going to be.
Did you hear what they were doing? I saw an Instagram post by Flex Lewis who said that they're doing a Dragon's Lair in the hotel. So they're actually.
So they're going to be doing, you know what? You're right. So they're going to be doing a podcast event. So it's going to be sort of like a live show. They're going to have podcast guests because what happened last year, and
they're actually putting equipment in, and they're going to make a gym.
Yes.
A Dragon's Lair gym in there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay. I knew that they were going to do like a proper, series of podcasts because what happened last year, not last year, I'm sorry, 2 years before when it was last in Vegas, the Dragon's Lairs just happened to be the place to be. I mean, we were there and everybody was there. So what Flex was literally just doing podcast after podcast he has this podcast set up in his office. So I mean, it was like literally like this line of like notable, celebrities.
Right, but what they're doing is they're doing a gym so that if you buy a week pass at the Dragon's Lair, you can either go to the Dragon's Lair itself or you can go to the hotel where they have the Dragon's Lair equipment set up there. So
So anyway, point being, all
Yeah.
that's going to be going on. We're going to have it documented on our Instagram. So official_RXMuscle. Now, the teaser question that we took right at the top of the episode, let's go to that one, is from B Winery. Everyone says once you start test, you will be on it for life. I remember you saying you used gear for 10 years and were able to get your natural production back. How long did it take you to get your test levels back up, and how did you do it?
So I created that baby making protocol. I told you guys the HMG, HCG, Clomid, glutathione. And by the way, if anyone wants the pregnancy or baby making protocol, you can reach out to my email, huge285@aol.com. I give it away for free. I'm probably responsible for a lot of babies in our industry. And when I was on that, I was on it pretty much continuously for, I don't know, like 5 years or something like that, 4 years. And I would go off it when the pregnancy occurred, but I stayed on HCG this whole time. During this time, I noticed after about a year of being on it, because I really didn't test myself before that, but I felt pretty good. I went and got my testosterone checked, and I was like 450, 500, 550. Every time I checked it, I was in that like higher mid range. Now, I always make this. I always put it out there, and I always say this: I might be just a genetic freak that my body turned itself back on, because I see other people who've followed the protocol and they've gotten their wives pregnant, but then afterwards their testosterone has always never gotten above 250. So what makes one person produce more and another person produce less? Who the heck knows what the real answer. Now, I also take finasteride too, which is a DHT blocker. So remember, testosterone can convert to estrogen. It can convert to DHT. So when you block those pathways, more testosterone stays as testosterone. I also stayed on my Testolytes product too, which also helps block DHT and estrogen. So I was keeping more of my testosterone as testosterone. Having said that, still though, I have to believe that I have a predisposition to just have a higher than normal testosterone in my body. And so not everyone will turn themselves back on permanently. Okay. Some people turn themselves back on, but not at a level that they feel good at. Now, I will also say this, that even though I was at a higher than normal level, my sex drive was good and I felt healthy, I wasn't able to really put a lot of muscle on until I started going back on HRT, and then it made it a lot easier for me to build. So, but I'm a hyper responder, so I can take 80 milligrams of testosterone a week and still grow and put on size and get stronger from that. So, there's a very big genetic component, is what I'm trying to say, to natural testosterone, how long you'll naturally be able to produce stuff, how quickly you can turn your body back on and have it stay on, and then how well you respond to hormone replacement or anabolics in general. I know guys that take a lot of anabolics and they don't get that big on them, and they eat well and they train good. They just not good responders to their receptors are not good, or we haven't really figured out why some people are better than others. Is it a myostatin thing? We don't know, but if you do the protocol, okay, it will work. It will turn you back on. Whether you stay on at a higher level or a lower level, that's very genetically determined.
I did skip around a little bit. I'm sorry about that. We had a second question on the Dave Palumbo Experience app, and it was something about that I'm not sure you ever really said, but you can clarify. I've seen Dave years ago say that electrolytes is one thing you should not mess with. Has your stance changed, and why are you against taking electrolyte supplements in water?
I think they're mistaking what I said. I said you should not mess with electrolytes the week of a show, meaning that you shouldn't start sodium loading, sodium depleting, taking diuretics for a week straight. That messes with your electrolyte balance and will ultimately influence how you look on stage. That's when you don't mess with electrolytes. You can take electrolyte supplements while you are working out in the off season, while at pre-contest, to make sure that you're getting enough. And like, I salt the crap out of my food. I don't need to take any electrolytes, but I know what, there's a lot of guys that work outside and they sweat nonstop all day, and they'll drink 3 gallons of water, but you know what? They're not replacing the electrolytes they're losing, the sodium. So they put all that water into their body, and they're actually watering down their electrolytes, and they actually start cramping because of that. And they're like, I don't understand it. I mean, drinking all this water and I'm cramping. Well, because you have to, when you consume fluids at that level, 3 gallons a day, you have to have some sodium and potassium in there. So it's a good idea, to some people just add salt to the water, like Celtic sea salt or, Himalayan sea salt. You could do that. It's a cheap way to do it. Some people will drink, like I drink a lot of these Propels from Gatorade. I don't know if they're really that good for you. I like them to stay clear and they don't have all the colors in them, but they have sodium, potassium, and you can buy coconut water. Coconut water has some carbs in it though. So if you're dieting, you got to be careful because it's got some sugar in it, the natural sugars. But like something like this, these are 0 calories. I just think they're easier, to do. They taste good. I like black cherry flavor, if you're asking. And it's something as simple as that. And then there are supplements out there that are just electrolyte drinks. If you drink my Amino Evolved during your workouts and stuff like that for the extra amino acids, we put electrolytes in there as well. We have sodium and potassium in there in the right dosages. So there's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is that don't mess with electrolytes pre-contest like that last week.
We're going to take one, maybe 2 questions. Again, this is going to be a very abbreviated version of Ask Dave. So a lot of the questions that we've gotten, we're just going to save them for next week, or I'll just give Dave one at a time to do some extended rants on. Excellent 187. When I take pictures post-workout, I look great. Full, hard, vascular, and my lines are sharp. The type of look I want to bring on stage. I see so many athletes do light pump-ups with bands backstage, and they just don't do it for me. Would you recommend I do a hard pump-up to try and replicate the look I see post-workout?
Yeah, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that crazy pump backstage that you would get when you're eating tons of carbs and you're fully hydrated. It's to chase that backstage. Not going to happen. Okay, you're dehydrated first of all because you want to be dry on stage. The judges are not looking for pumps and veins on stage. They're looking for muscle separation. They're looking for grainy hard conditioning. The biggest mistake that I see guys making backstage, and I've made it early in my thing, is number one, pumping up too much, okay, backstage. Because what you're doing when you're pumping up and working out backstage is you're actually breaking down muscle tissue, which is causing inflammation, and you're exhausting glycogen in the muscle. We've packed all this glycogen into the muscle so that it could look full on stage. If you're working out backstage I've seen guys for an hour pumping up, you're going to deplete a lot of glycogen out of the muscle and you're going to look flat. Okay. Now I know some people do that who seem to overcarb or they look over full and they'll try to work out some of that over fullness, which it never really works either. But you do not want to work out. Plus, when you're backstage, you're also very dehydrated and brittle, meaning that the muscles can tear real easy. And this is how I learned the hard way. I was backstage at the 1994 Suburban Championships. Gary Shridham was guest posing, a guy who really looked up to, and he was on a bench doing dumbbell flies, pumping up with 60s or something like that, or 50s or 60s. I don't know what made me possess that I needed to grab the same dumbbells as him backstage, especially since he was a lot bigger than me at the time. And I did it, and I tweaked my pec, and I was so pissed off at myself that I was so dumb to do that. And I said to myself, I will never pump up backstage again, ever. There's no reason for it. I was always the hardest guy. All you have to do is pose. Just get the blood in the muscle. Pose. Go through your posing. That's plenty. You're looking for trouble when you're trying to lift weights backstage. Even bands, it's not going to do anything. It's like you're trying to get rid of nervous energy. And you know what? A lot of times, most people overdo it. Just close your eyes and go through your posing over and over and over again, and you'll get plenty of blood in the muscles and you'll look great out there. Do not overdo it backstage, or when you get on that stage and they start working you for 20 minutes, you're going to feel like you're going to pass out. Bad idea. Don't overpump backstage.
So with that, that's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Like I said, this was going to be in an abbreviated version. We have a very, very, very special guest on deck that Dave's going to be interviewing. So we want to get things fully prepared for him. These questions, the leftover questions, we're going to have them either next week or some of the better ones. I'll just send them directly to Dave and we'll do some elaborate rants on them. But again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. We have all new episodes of Iron Debate. We're going to do another one prior to heading out to Vegas for the Olympia. We have a ton of interviews down the pike. Wesley Vissers, Martin Fitzwater is already live, Hunter Labrada, Mike the Badass. We have Missy Truscott coming up. I know I'm forgetting a couple, but nonetheless, a lot of Olympia-related content coming down the pike over the next couple of days, over the next few days, rather. And then, of course, next week, Dave's going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be there. Chris Aceto will be there. And again, we're going to be going around Olympia, Expo, prejudging, finals, the whole bit. Everything you come to expect of us on Olympia weekend. We'll be providing wall-to-wall coverage of the 2024 Olympia. Species Nutrition, proud sponsor of all of our coverage. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.